So when we last joined in on our saga of Come As You Are,
the last time we left Amanda and Melissa, they were gearing up with the fire hoses to host an event to spray Kool-Aid all over you. Open your mouth. Here we go.
yeah, I mean, like this, it seems like a soap opera. Like the last time we left Melissa and Amanda.
Faith can feel like hearts and butterflies until someone lights a match and burns it all to the ground. Welcome to the Burning Butterflies podcast.
The sad thing is that there's abuse of every kind within the church. But the spiritual abuse is the stuff that just
What's a place there shouldn't be abuse? Like, there just shouldn't be abuse in a place that claims to.
Well, it ruins your soul. If you're new here, we suggest listening to our prologue episode first. This is the story of two women's journey through toxic church culture and spiritual abuse, all while finding healing in the end.
Sometimes it's just the facts, and if you get offended by it, that's a you issue. And if we can't be mature enough to have these conversations, even if some of the topics are difficult, then shame on us.
A pandemic hits and we pivot so well because we are so trained to pivot so well and just to have our crap together. And I mean, like, let's be real. You and I and Brandy, there's a handful of us at that church that made things function, right? And all of us thrived in chaos. And so we were able to pick up and shift so easily. And honestly, I think had Tom not had us, Come As You Are would have been just like the hundreds of other churches that had to close their doors through the pandemic. I know we touched on this a little bit last week, but I need our listeners to understand that depending on what part of the country you're in, you know, some parts of the country, your shutdown lasted months and months and months, right? Here where we are in northern Colorado, the county that we are in, we talked a little bit about, you know, in our last episode and even, you know, in Patreon and stuff, we talk about how literally we are on like the edge of a county. And so like while we lived and went to church in our county and those restrictions were lifted faster, you worked at your restaurant literally right across the street, but it was a different county.
Yeah, like literally, it's not even across the street. It's like, well, I guess I mean they say across the street, but it's like major streets. And if you cross that street, like the county we live and go to church in is totally like lenient. You know, it's like the wild, wild west out here. Like, we don't want your stinking rules. But then the county that I worked in was like, if there was a rule, you had to follow it to the T. So it was like night and day. So like, yeah, judge me if you will. But like literally my life in my home, because I'm like, as my kids were being homeschooled, you know, and like we were hardly affected at all in like not having to, like, we didn't follow a lot of restrictions. We weren't restricted. We lived our lives normally. Nothing was really out of place for us. And then I would go to work and throw on a mask, right?
Yeah.
Like I had a mask just for work because I was required to wear it. So, but yeah, like it was it was interesting to see. And that's just in our community, like between two different counties, like state to state and country to, it was, so yeah, so we do understand that like in different parts of the world there were totally different opinions and different restrictions and whatever.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to preface that because like we don't know where our listeners are listening from, and so they'd be like, well, you ladies are full of crap, like, you know, 2 weeks
lock our doors.
Yeah. And so, yeah, For us, it was 2 weeks. We were told we could not be in the building for 2 weeks. Only one person at a time could be in the building for 2 weeks. Tom and I, under the cover of darkness, would go in and record his sermons because he had to be on stage in order to record his sermons, which I think says a lot about his narcissism.
Yeah.
And so we were shut down the last 2 Sundays of March. We always did the Easter egg hunt, on Good Friday. We anticipated that we were going to be shut down for the Easter egg hunt. And so we turned the entire Easter egg hunt into a social distancing Easter egg hunt. We put things out there, like people could make eggs and decorate them in different ways, like polka dots or, stars or hearts or whatever, and you put those, make pictures of them and put them up in your window so people could drive around, and hunt for Easter eggs around our town. So we did that. So we started that on April 4th, but it went all the way through Easter that year. But on April 5th, we were able to come back because our county had lifted the ban and we could have 10 people or less as long as we were social distance and everyone was wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And there were...
Totally followed that.
There were rules specifically pertaining to churches. So if you were on stage, you had to be social distanced, but you could take your mask off.
Yeah.
So Tom was like, we're getting the band back together. And the band got to come in.
And we didn't move any of the equipment.
No. You
guys
were
all look 6 feet. The stage isn't big enough for everybody to have been 6 feet apart.
I was specifically told to try to avoid showing all of you on stage, like a wide shot
at one time. Yeah.
At one time. So, it could kind of showing camera angles to give the illusion that you guys were farther apart than you were.
Yeah.
Not a single damn person wore a mask.
No.
Not a single person wore a mask walking into so we were supposed to, the rule was that we were supposed to wear our mask the whole time. So up in the sound booth, me, and then finally the gal who would do the slides, she was allowed to come in because our sound booth was more than 6 feet wide.
Long. Yeah.
And so theoretically we could be 6 feet away from each other.
Yeah.
We weren't.
You were social distance at one end to the other.
Yes. But it helped me out greatly because it is a long sound booth. It is a pretty big sound booth lengthwise. And so for me to do the soundboard on one end, the streaming in the middle, and switch slides on the other end, I got my workout those 2 weeks I was up there all by myself. It was a lot for one person. It was doable, but it was a lot. So I was thankful when she came in.
Yeah.
And then the worship team, no one wore masks. You'd get up, you'd play your set. Then you would come and sit in the rows. So Tom was so excited because he actually had people to sit in the rows and talk to.
Yeah. And we did spread out all over the entire.
Yes. Yeah. You didn't all sit in one row all
you
right
social distance for the sermon.
Yeah.
We all had our different, one to a row or whatever, spread out. That was kind of funny.
Yeah. A sanctuary that fit 350 people. We had 6 of you, dotted around in there. But if you remember, I had to put a paper plate up. So Tom would remember that you're talking to the camera, you're talking to people. Once you guys were allowed to come back in, Tom never acknowledged the people at home again.
Yeah.
It was business as usual. If you would have watched, if you could go back and you can, they've since, since us starting this podcast and referencing specific sermons, they have archived a lot of their old stuff on YouTube, and it's very hard to find old things. You kind of have to dig and kind of know what you're looking for. But if you can find a sermon from the time during COVID, you probably wouldn't even know that it was COVID.
No, except for like there was like you'd mention it and acknowledge, and then that was it. That was the end of that. It was like, oh, and hello to those of you at home, or welcome to online viewers. Like there would be some, greeting to them, and then that was it.
Yeah. But honestly, like a lot of that came from you guys on the worship team. Very rarely would it come from Tom.
Right.
Usually only like, if he was trying to prove a point, he'd get worked up about some, one specific point, and then he'd be like, and I'm sure you guys at home, because he wasn't getting like the amount of head nods in the room. And so
in the room.
Yeah.
But I think that's funny because he was so adamant too about like, make sure you are including, like he was telling us on the worship team, like we had to make sure we were talking to them. And we had to make sure we were acknowledging.
That is an aspect of Tom's personality I don't think we've really talked about a lot. Tom knew what needed to be done. Tom knew in the areas he was lacking, and he would tell everyone else if they were lacking in those areas. But that self-reflection piece...
just missing.
Yeah, 100%.
He ditched out the line when that was being handed out.
Yes, 100%. So, April 5th, you guys are able to come back in. I honestly liked it because it took so much pressure off of me, because those 2 weeks we pre-recorded and then I would put them up. It was so much because those 2 weeks, I think because Tom knew, like we tried to do it all in one thing, but there would be times where he would be like, stop this right here, and then I'm going to pick up here. And he would get like frustrated with himself. I really think like he thought it would be easier to do than what it was.
Yeah.
To give a sermon to an empty room, I think he thought it would be easier.
Right. And then you have the pressure of it's now recorded. Like, I don't know that he thinks about the fact that it's being recorded. It's not the main focus point when he's like giving a sermon, and it's being streamed online. And I think the recording part is like another step away. So it's like not active in his mind.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not going to stop in the middle of a live audience and be like, oh, I messed that up. Let me go back. But so then he was having you edit it. Like, he's like, let's just make it harder. You could have to piece it together and edit.
Well, and it was almost like he was mad at me. Like,
yeah.
I would get screamed at because like he would screw something up and we'd have to like, okay, we're just going to pick up at this, and because he wanted it to seem seamless.
Yeah.
And so I still did the use the fader. He's on screen and then fade. So it's, the Bible verse is up on the screen. And so we would have to go back sometimes to like a previous point so that something would be up on the screen.
Yeah.
And so I did a lot of like playful editing where I would put like if I had to edit in the middle of it and he didn't go back far enough, instead of making him repeat something and have it be obviously like, okay, you just said that twice in the exact same way, I would just cut it out and then like put a slide over it so it looked like I put the slide up it made purpose. Me look like why is she putting the Bible verse up at a stupid time?
Yeah.
So it made me look like I was like doing kind of a crappy job in order for him to save face.
Yeah.
All the time I'm the one getting yelled at for it. And I'm like, dude, I'm not the one who decided we needed to give sermons to an empty sanctuary.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand. But So when you guys came in, it definitely took a lot of pressure off of me. I was thankful. For one, it ate me up that we were like breaking the rules to come in and do this.
Yeah, because we have 6 people in the band, 2 people in the sound booth, sometimes 7 or 8 people in the band, depending on the number of singers. And everybody wanted to sing, and get back to it. So just in the band and the sound booth on any given Sunday, there's 10 people. And then you had the people who were like, they had to be at church. So we had another 3 or 4 people in there any given Sunday. So we were way over 10 at any point in time.
But I felt better that there were other people there. Like when it was just me and Tom, like that gave me the ick so bad.
Yeah.
And I felt like weird. I couldn't say anything. And so you guys coming in, and I mean, I wasn't the only one. Like Lori would be mad because she would ask, because like, so when the ban was lifted and we could have 10 people or less, right? It was, well, so do we get to come back to the office? And it was decided that all of us would stay away from the office as much as possible so Lori could go back because she was immunocompromised. And so we would keep our distance so she could go back and she could feel safe. So Lori would ask of like, well, who all was there? Because I think Lori missed being a part of things. And so I think she was kind of trying to test the waters of like, can I come and sit in the sanctuary and just listen to worship? Right? Like, so I think she was trying to kind of test those waters a little bit, but when I would be like, oh, well, it's just the band, but then I'd be like, well, but then Bill Nye the Color Guy was there and Pastoral Reliable was there sometimes. Then Barbara Jean started showing up, but it wasn't like opened up to everyone. It's not like Tom would tell everyone like, yeah, come if you want. He was very strategic about the people he allowed to come. And they were even told like, I'll let you come, but like, we can't really say anything because then everyone will want to come. Right. And so, I mean, yes, we had 15, sometimes 20 people in the building. And Tom's rationale was always the same as what he gave me. Our building is so big. We're far enough apart. We're as far apart, me on stage and you in the sound booth, as we're farther away from each other than you and your neighbors are next door. And so I think he rationalized it in his head. But I mean, we were still breaking the rules.
Yeah.
Still breaking the rules, 100%. So we recorded, I think just one Sunday. And then we came back and we decided we were going to pre-record Easter.
Yeah.
Because we could have a band. We were already planning on pre-recording Easter anyway, but now that the band can be here. So we didn't like live stream Easter services. We pre-recorded that, but the band was able to be a part of it.
Yeah. Well, and I think it made sense. Like, I remember being in on those discussions. Like, it made sense of like, would you rather get up when you get up and go do whatever you're going to do with your families for Easter? Or if there's nobody at church, do you really want to, like, this sounds crappy. Like, there's nobody there. Do you really want to get up early to serve on a Sunday if nobody's going to show up? No, let's pre-record it so everybody can enjoy their Easter, right? Yeah, I mean, like, I actually was all for it, so as crappy as it sounds, but no, it made sense. Like, why do we need to if we're going to send it out anyway, do we really have to do it live? No, we could do it on a Thursday and send it out on Sunday and we can all sleep in. At least that was my thing. I was like, I choose to sleep in.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. And so keep in mind, I'm doing all of this and I'm running pretty much the church. Like, anyone who is having tech issues, Tom is having them call me. He is giving people my personal cell phone number.
Yeah.
So someone calls and is mad because they don't like the way the sound sounds while we're streaming, he gives them my phone number. So I'm getting like these old men who are like ran the soundboard in like 1964, like are calling me mad. And I'm like, girl, I started doing this literally like a month ago. I went from I can slide this slider to turn one mic on and off to now I'm doing the whole band by myself. I'm doing my best.
Right. If you
Like,
want to show up and make it sound better, please do.
yeah. But then like just imagine trying to give your grandma tech help over the phone.
Yeah.
Like anything. Well, my iPad keeps doing this. I don't have an I'm not an Apple person. I don't know. I don't know how to connect your iPad to the internet. I don't like. And then there was old people that we realized so many old people in our church did not even have internet. And so Tom's solution was the church bought iPads. And his theory, thank God this never panned out, but we bought like 4 iPads, I think. And he wanted me to load the sermons, like load the service, the whole recorded service, worship and everything, load it onto the iPads, and then drive around and drop it off at these old people's houses. Allow them to watch it. Then I would collect the iPad, I would sanitize it, and I would go drop it off at someone else's house.
That is the most.
And then go collect them. Like, so go around until all the old people were able to watch church for the week. And then collect them all, sanitize them all, delete that sermon off of there, load the next week's, and repeat. That's what he wanted me to do. And I am so thankful that so many of those older people were too scared to even I mean, these were people who were like Clorox wiping their groceries, you know, and like, you know, like you've talked about previously, like picking up food with tongs and scarves.
Yeah, we had people literally show up in the funniest one I ever saw. Like, and I get it. People were scared. Like, I'm not making fun. I'm not. If this was you, I'm not putting you down. I understand. Like, it was a new thing, and if people reacted the way they reacted, but literally like household items as like armor with a pair of tongs. This woman had the person running the food out the door, like had to set it on this, like, she was like, stop, that's far enough. Set the food down. Like it was a traffic stop. And they set the food down. And then she had oven mitts on her hands and tongs and a foot to shoulder parka, right? A ankle length parka and almost like a beekeeper outfit. Like, I don't even know. It was a lot. It was a lot. And tongs to go pick up the bag.
Yeah, no, like total craziness, right? And so I am so thankful like some of those older people were like that.
Yeah.
Because that's what kept me from having to do that, is they were too scared of the idea of that. And so
yeah, which if you had cause and you had reason, good.
Yeah, no, like 100%.
I just would have imagined some more zombie apocalypse style, like it would have come out of my TV and into the real world for some of the reactions I saw.
Yeah, but I mean, that was his solution, you know?
Which is just such an absurd solution. Like, I mean, let's think about this. Like, first of all, iPads are expensive. And so our answer is to invest in purchasing, like...
And they weren't brand new. We bought them used off of eBay.
Oh, okay. Well, still.
Like refurbished eBay iPads.
Okay, that's better. But, like, let's throw hundreds of dollars at these devices like it's 1989. Like it's a Walkman. Like, I'm gonna just go put this cassette tape and record it, and then we're gonna erase them all.
Well,
and
that's what I was
re-record
like. If we're gonna do that, why don't we just go get the damn CD burner that we couldn't throw away,
it.
that we
just
have
go
shoved
burn
in the closet
CDs.
somewhere. Like, let's just go back to burning CDs. Some of his ideas were, because like we've said, like he is a problem comes at him, like, just fix it as fast as you can so that I don't have to think about it anymore. This is annoying me. I'm annoyed that all the old people are calling me. Call Amanda. So he would give out my phone number. So, like, he seriously, I mean, the amount of phone calls I was getting, I mean, we're talking dozens a day.
Wow.
Of anything from, I can't figure out how to tithe online. My internet keeps going out, and I'm like, girl, same. Like, all of us. Like, we're in the land of all the kids are at home doing school on the
Online.
So, because we can open up, and we could be 10 people or less, that doesn't, our kids were still home. They finished out that school year at home. So imagine everyone who is typically away from their home during the day is all now using the internet. And so I have 3 children. They're all supposed to be on Zoom doing class. And like, I had my internet physically, like, I could have 2 people online at a time. Yeah. And so I had to tell like my kids' teachers, I'm like, I have a schedule. I'm sorry. Like, my internet will it's going to crash.
Can't be at this class because this kid has to be at this class.
Yep.
This
and
time.
so like, you get my kid from this time to this time, and I have to cycle through who gets to use the internet at that time.
Yeah.
And so, trying to explain that, like, I understand you are the only person in your house on the internet, but also everyone on your street is also on that same internet.
Yeah.
Well, no, I have my own internet. I have my neighbors don't have my password. No, I understand that. But your internet provider, it's like your water pipe. Yeah, it's like your water pipe coming down your street. If the water pipe, if everyone is using all of that water all at the same time, the amount of water that's coming out of your faucet your pressure is gonna be lower. And like, I had to explain it to these people like that, because I'm like, I know that's not exactly how it works, but like, that's the only thing I could think of to get them to understand and put it into terms that they're going to get.
Yeah.
And so I'm fielding all of these. Plus, remember, children's and youth and men's and women's and all of the things are still doing their weekly meetings. And I'm recording it, and I'm putting it up online and making it available for everyone online. And I'm rapidly getting burnt out.
Yeah.
Rapidly getting burnt out. And to top it all off, we decide, because I'm getting all these phone calls, and then it starts off, I'm upset because I can't figure out how to tithe. And then I'm stuck on the phone with this old lady for an hour and 45 minutes because she's so desperate for interaction that she just wants to talk on the phone to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to be rude and be like, I have stuff I got to do. I'm trying to be a mom. I'm trying to do homeschool stuff. I am not a homeschool mom. I'm trying to like keep my children from murdering each other and do their work and do the church and do the things. And I'm sorry, I don't care that your cat is upset because you are making your cat social distance, and they have been an indoor-outdoor cat. Now you are making them be a strictly indoor cat, and your cat doesn't understand why they can't go outside because it's COVID. Like, those are the kinds of conversations I was having with the old people in our church. And I'm like, or like this one old lady was telling me about I didn't realize how many birds come visit my garden during the day. And then she had to tell me all about it. And I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds great. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, I could not give 2 Fs right now. Like, seriously. But I can't
That's
be
so crazy. It's crazy that you survived COVID, not because of COVID, but just because
the freaking
so
people. The
holy crap.
people.
You're like, I got old people at the church calling me. I got to deal with getting the church run. I got to be a mom. I was reciting Latin verbs with my children to music.
Yeah, and you're like, business as usual. I just put a mask on when I go to work.
We get up in the morning, have some coffee. We learn about our school. I go to work. I give people food, have them yell at me. Like,
Yeah.
you can't bring me my food? No, I can't. Like, we did not offer delivery. Like just the level of, like, we did delivery, like large party delivery. Like if you were having a graduation party, we will bring you food, but like we didn't do like meal delivery at the time.
Yeah, you weren't door dashing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did have a lady who worked in the COVID unit at the hospital call me and wanted us to bring them food. And I'm like, I don't have the staffing for, like, we don't do that. Like, I can't do that. You want me to come there? I'm like, you want me to come there? Like, your logic is so flawed. She was like, but I work in the COVID and you want me to leave and come there?
And you
like,
want me to come to the COVID unit?
I'm like, so wait a minute, but I'm like, ma'am. She goes, well, don't you? And she starts giving me, I don't remember what she said. What did she say? She was like, well, oh yeah, wouldn't that bother you if I get out of my, and I go, ma'am, I see thousands of people a day. I don't ask them where they're coming from. I hand them their food. I smile. And I say, have a nice day. Thousands of people come through this line every day. I don't know where they've been. So when you come through the line and I hand you your food, I don't know where you've been.
Yeah.
And she was just like, oh, I guess I could find somebody. And I was like, I don't know. Like, we live in two different worlds, woman. I understand that there's a crisis in your world. I understand that you have to change your clothes and that you're careful. And I think you should be. And I thank you for doing that. And I know how rough it is and stressful it is to be making the decisions for people's lives that you're making. Like, I know that is your reality. But my reality is I have people yelling at me because their crouton was overcooked. I don't know what to tell you.
And if you're that worried about it, why are you? It goes back to what we talked about last week. Why are you ordering food?
Why? Yeah, right. Exactly. Like, I don't.
Yeah. No.
Not my problem.
So, Brandy and I, because through this whole thing, Brandy and I were like, screw this. We're social distancing with each other. So at least our kids had each other, right?
Yeah.
Like, and they would come over still. Because we kind of were like, our kids were together all the time anyway. Brandy and I worked together in the office, and our husbands worked together anyway. So they were together. So we're all getting the same germs no matter what.
Right. And you might as well just be one large family.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so we were still hanging out and stuff. And so she was seeing the amount of phone calls that I was getting. She was getting phone calls from a lot of like women and moms and stuff like that because she had given her phone number out to a lot of people. And so we come up with this idea that after Easter, we want to go around and anyone who is members of our church, we want to make yard signs. At this point, the schools were doing yard signs and coming in, like our kids' elementary school did like a star student of the week for every class. And so the teacher would go and just put a yard sign, like, a star student of, Miss Sally's 5th grade class lives here, and then they would move the sign from house to house. And so like, they would, my kids are so excited. Like, I'm the star student. We have a sign in our yard, And so other things were doing that. So we're like, let's do these signs, right? Tom threw a fit because we weren't spending the money on the signs. The church would not pay for signs. So I want to remind you, this is April of 2020. In November of 2019, so not even a full 6 months later, we were doing We Love Our Community, 40 Days of Community. We all, as a collective church, did a study about how we can love people better and serve our community and have people feel like they belong and they're a part of something, right? Your family, all the BS we fed them went out the window. We didn't give two shits about community during COVID. We were not going to spend money on putting signs in your yard to let you know that we love you, we miss you, and Jesus loves you. That was not worth Tom's time, attention, or money. But because I am determined, and my best friend at the time had hyper focused on this for a very long time, and when two women who are very determined get together, we printed on cardstock what the yard signs were going to look like. We laminated each piece. So you had a laminated sign as a front and a laminated sign as a back. We stapled around them, and then we bought on Amazon all of the yard sign stakes, and we stapled our little homemade yard sign onto the yard sign stakes, and we drove around to all, I think there was 87 families. Me and Brandy, our husbands, and our kids had a list. We were in the back of the pickups. We would drive around. Okay, pull up to this house. Kids would jump out. They'd go put a yard sign in there, that yard. And we made door hangers of we love you, we miss you, all of these things. So our sign on one side, it says we love our community. And on the back side, it said the people who live here are prayed for and loved, or something like that. And so we started doing that. And that's when I started saying, send in your pictures because we miss seeing your face. So because I didn't have enough to do, every single Sunday, during the countdown prior to service starting, I would have pictures of people. They would send me the pictures and I would put together a slideshow. So pictures from home, pictures of kids doing, digital school, pictures, of whatever.
Yeah, from the week, and so people could see their friends' faces. And
yep.
Great idea, by the way. I really like that.
I'm pretty sure I stole that from another church.
I'm pretty sure you did too, because I think you even talked about it already. You're like, there's this other church, but it was great. I thought it was great.
Yeah, so I started doing that. Tom was annoyed. He was annoyed because the countdown kept getting longer and longer each week, and I was like, well, we have to let it play through because they're waiting to see their picture.
Yeah,
they sit in their picture. So I'm sorry, we have, we started off with 12 pictures, so that was pretty quick, but now we're up to 40. And I mean, it's not like I left them up on the screen for a long amount of time, but it was enough that you were like, oh, that's so-and-so. Oh, that's so-and-so,
Yeah.
And I was like, we have to let it play out. So he was annoyed because the countdown would get longer and longer and longer. He thought it was absolutely stupid that we drove around and put signs in people's yards. And he said, no one's going to care. But I will tell you, to this day, real life 2025, to this day, there are people in our community who still have those homemade signs in their yards.
Yeah.
But he thought it was absolutely stupid and not worth our time and our effort. But it lifted so many people's spirits.
Yeah.
He was so, so, so upset. But April 19th.
April 19th.
Was a very interesting Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So we had gone, we had done Easter, right? Pre-recorded Easter. And if I remember right, Tom did something, he was trying to assimilate it to COVID, but it was the church is empty, or no, the sanctuary is empty, but the church is full. And it was the tomb was empty, but I don't, he was trying his best. So he did that pre-recorded, and then we went out and put the yard signs out. right? So then this is the following Sunday, the 19th. We're doing opening worship, and you guys are on stage.
Yep.
At that point, all of you guys are on stage. It is me and the gal doing the slides up in the sound booth. Tom's even on stage because he plays
Guitar.
in the band.
Yeah.
And
Bill Nye the color guy's down there.
Bill Nye the color guide, and I'm pretty sure Pastor O'Reliable was there that day.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I want to say there were like 2 people there.
Yeah. So Bill Nye the color guy and Pastor O'Reliable were there. Pastor O'Reliable was sitting kind of like up towards the front, but Bill Nye the color guy was sitting towards the back.
Yeah.
And someone walked in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
I was singing. I was leading the song.
Yeah,
I was the lead singer in that moment.
Well, so the music is going, right? So it gets pretty loud in the sanctuary, but the front doors are loud.
Yeah.
Like when they close, they're loud. And I thought I heard something. And then, like I said before, we have like those blackout panels on the windows to the sanctuary. So it's completely, enclosed. You can't see out into the lobby from in the sanctuary. And so when this guy came in, he opened the door. And so like the light is kind of what like caught my attention. So I'm running the streaming and the soundboard, right? And so I see him and I can't see who it is. And he has on like a puffy coat and a mask. And I can't see his face because I'm up in a sound booth. And by the time he gets to where I can see him, all I can see is the back of his head.
Yeah.
And so I kind of look at the gal doing the slides and we kind of give each other a look. And in that moment, we both were like, this feels scary. Like that there's something scary. Like this feels scary. And so we look at each other and I have my finger on the slider because I have it kind of, we are not set up the way we're supposed to be set up in the sound booth whatsoever. Beth Moore begged for better tech. I begged for better tech. Like we were just having it's a get what you get situation. So we are set up. What people are seeing live streaming isn't like what you would think, like if you watch live streaming now. And even still to this day, Come As You Are has not updated their tech. It's still the same way. So whatever is projected up on the screen in the sanctuary live in the sanctuary is what you see on your screen. So if you want to see the people talking on your screen on the stream, that's what has to be projected up on the screens in the sanctuary. So we would do this thing like kind of half faded where you could kind of sort of see the people on the stage and then you could kind of sort of see the words like transposed over them. Right? And it was like a fader. So it was like either full words, full worship team, or I kind of had it faded in the middle, right? So the people at home could see the words, but they could see you guys singing. So we both feel scared. And I have my finger on that slider. And literally the only thing I could think of is there's families watching this. And if this guy is going to come in here and shoot all of us, I can't have little kids watch that.
Yeah.
Sitting in their living rooms, watching us all get shot.
Right.
And so literally this is what's going through my head is my final act of love and compassion towards my church family will be to fade it to just the words. So you don't have to watch us die. And so I have one finger on the fader and I have my hand on my phone ready to dial 911. I look at the girl with the slides and she shows me her phone, and she has 911 dialed, and she's just ready to push send. We are both having the same thought.
Yeah.
So that's what we saw from the back of the sanctuary. You full on see this guy. So you tell your version.
Okay. Like totally singing. Okay. Like middle of a song, right? Like you pick any worship song. We are full playing it. I'm leading it. And I'm singing. And the door opens. And I think it's funny how you like describe the jacket like in modern day, like he's got this puffy jacket, but this is an old man, number one.
Yeah.
And it's like the quintessential old man tan beige jacket that's kind of the windbreakery puffy like. You know it. If you got an old man on your street, you know exactly what jacket
it's not Gen Z puffer. It's old man puffer.
This is old man puffy jacket. But anyway, so I know this guy. And I'm like, oh, somebody's coming to join into worship, right? Like he walks in, like he's like coming in and like he's purposeful in his walking. Like, but I'm just like, everything's great. Love the Lord. Hi, how you doing? And I'm singing, and this guy starts yelling, and I'm just singing, and I'm like, what is going? Like, I have no like. I'm like so behind the game. Like you guys are freaking out, ready to call 911, and I'm like, clap your hands. Let's go. What are you saying? Huh? I can't hear. I'm singing. I can't hear you, but I'm just going to keep smiling at you. Like I was singing to him at this point, you know, just like, yeah, whatever you're saying. I'm shaking my head, like aware that I'm on camera. Like don't break character. Like,
yeah.
And he's yelling and screaming, and I have no idea what he's saying. And then he like rips off his mask. And then I could hear him, and then Bill Nye the Color Guy is trying to talk to him, and then he stormed out. But I was just like smiling and nodding, like singing, and I gave him a thumbs up at some point. Like,
so,
but I totally knew who this guy was, and I did not read the situation with any kind of fear whatsoever. I was like, "Come and sing with us, welcome."
So, my fader skills were so good that day that it barely caught you acknowledging that there was someone.
Yeah.
You could not see him on camera at all. So by the time he got to the point where like he would have been picked up on the camera, I had completely faded, and all people saw on the screen were the words.
Yeah.
So he's yelling at you. You guys, you keep at it. You do not stop singing. You don't, nothing. Nothing is picked up on the mics of this guy yelling. No one at home knew that we had someone walk into the building and start screaming at you guys on stage while you were worshiping.
Right.
And so Bill Nye the Color Guy, like you said, goes up, kind of like tries to talk to him, and then he storms out.
Yeah.
Come to find out afterwards, he was pissed off that we were doing church.
He was yelling. He was like, "What the hell are you doing? Put on your masks.
Yep.
You're supposed to be at home." Like the logic of all this is what he was yelling. Like he was yelling at us for being there together doing church.
When he walked in to be there too and took off his mask too.
Yeah, like you were at home watching. Like, number one, you don't have to watch the service.
Yeah.
Number two, you got in your car, walked in the building, got close enough to me, closer than 6 feet, to yell at me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was crazy. And so like we just continued on. The rest of the thing, we continue on. One of the guys from the worship team came up and asked us if in the sound booth if we were okay, because like I think he like saw us and kind of like realized like these two women were like
they have school training.
We were ready for active shooter situation, like 100%. Because the gal who does the slides is a teacher, and so we were ready to like go into lockdown mode, right? Like, And
And I'm
so
just up there. I would have died singing because I just was oblivious. I was like,
I am
la,
no,
la.
like I am so thankful. But at the end of that, I mean, like we went on. I text Brandy and I was like, "Did you see that?" Like I'm texting Justin. Did you see that? Did you see that? No one knew anything had happened.
Yeah.
No one had any idea. And so Brandy went back and watched like the feed again, like when we the playback, and she's like, you could barely see Melissa like acknowledge that there's someone in the room, but then you fade to words. And nothing is said. Tom doesn't acknowledge it, and it's not like Tom's like, we had someone come in. Nothing. Nothing is said. No one said anything. And so after the service, we're, packing stuff up, turning stuff off and everything. And the slide gal and I asked Tom, can we lock the doors? Like, can we start, like, once everyone gets here, can we go and lock the doors? Just so then this doesn't happen again. Because that really scared us. Like, it really scared us.
Well, and the way things were during that time, it's entirely possible that person could have been an active shooter, because people had, and probably still to this day, have very strong opinions about the way that people lived their lives during that time.
Oh, yeah. And this is someone who had been known to have some mental issues anyway. He was a former member of the church. But yeah, like we were like, can we just, once everyone gets here, like I'll do it. You don't have to do it. But like, we're just going to go and lock the doors now. We got our asses chewed by Tom. Why would you have to? Why are you living in fear? Why are you so scared? What are you scared of? Why would you do that? That's nothing to be scared about. Do you not trust that God would protect you? And if you died, do you not trust that God had a plan and a purpose in that? Like, do you really think if God's plan is for you to die in this building, do you think a locked door is going to stop someone? Thank you for easing my anxiety and making me feel better after a tense situation where we damn near called 911. Thank you. Frickin' Tom. Like
the logic, though. Let's talk about that over on Patreon.
Yeah, that's gonna be our Patreon. Yes, we don't live in fear,
but we are scared of this and we're scared of that. And don't do this, and you shouldn't do this because
we do not live in fear. But I'm scared of trans men in bathrooms. Like,
no, don't lock the door. But God forbid if your child hear a bad word on TV. That's the end of the world. You can't do that.
We can't lock the door after we were scared to death, but they can't know that Timmy has two moms. Like I don't understand it. So yes, we're going to talk about that over on Patreon. But really, like there is so much packed into this like short little time frame that we've discussed today. My husband ends up leaving the eldership training. He's working in healthcare, and he's like, I do not have the bandwidth to do this. Because Tom is like, you're all in. It's all or nothing. And my husband's like, it's going to have to be nothing then. A couple other guys, same thing. But Tom...
Yeah, because really, I feel like in the working field, you had the... what's the word I'm looking for? Like, not first responders, but what was the term?
Essential employee.
Yes, thank you. There you go. Essential workers, right?
Yes.
And so hospitals and restaurants, right? So Justin and I were like all work.
Yeah, essential workers.
Right?
Yep.
When it came to work, it's all work. But then you have like most people are at home. Most people are now working remote if they can. And a lot of people aren't working. Like our restaurant, I did talk the last episode about going home. And like I literally cried because we thought everybody was going to stay home. We had just managers and a cook. And we were like, what did we go? Oh, why did everybody come out to give food? Like, nobody expected that. And then eventually, as time went on, we were able to start running a staff of like 6 people a day, you know, outside of managers and cook. You know, we could add a cook here and there. And so when we could have the 10 employees, you know, we definitely had 10 employees in there. And then we could spread people out. Like I spent a lot of my time just picking up a phone. Thank you for calling, and taking orders. Thank you for calling. Thank you for, I mean, the phone rang. I'd hang it up and I'd have to pick it right back up. And it would be somebody be on hold. You know, it was just constant. I probably spent 10 hours a day some days. And that's all I did. Thank you for calling. What can I get for you? Thank you. Okay. Could pick it up at this time. Click. Thank you for calling, and take an order. Like, so, and I mean, I know my job, that was not as crazy and stressful as Justin's job. I'm dealing with life and death situations. I understand that. But a lot of people weren't working.
Yeah.
Like, our staff of 100 people or whatever was down to, like, you're talking about like 10 people a day.
Yeah.
You know, if that. And so we were all hands-on working. So I get that. Like, some people had the benefit of when it comes to those men, some of those men had the benefit of, yeah, well, you know what? I actually got like 2 or 3 hours worth of work because my job is shut down. Some people were unemployed and stressed about that. Other people were still working full-time plus. So
yeah,
I get it.
Yeah. But Tom also, at this time, like, starts reaching out to those guys who are in the eldership program still, and wants them to think about like a leadership structure. So like, once we all start coming back, you know, we have to have elders now. I think going through this eldership training, Tom realized I don't really want elders, because that could be problematic for me.
Yeah.
In how I run this church as a sole proprietor, I guess you could kind of say.
Yeah, and I feel like, here's what I feel like. I feel like there's a lot of terms that get thrown around in church circles that everybody's like, well, it would be great to have, you know, an elder or a deacon or a board of directors, you have a finance person. And I feel like that's how it was at Come As You Are. Because there was, for a time, like, I remember there being a guy who was the finance guy, right?
Yeah.
My opinion of the finance guy on the leadership team made me feel like the church had a board of, like, you know what? I would have vocalized to you, like, I never heard the term board of directors at Come As You Are, so don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But like, in my mind, I equated the leadership team, and on the leadership team there was a finance guy. In my mind, that equated to like board of directors, like how the board of directors work.
No, 100%. I assumed the same thing. I assumed this guy probably, you know, advised Tom financially. He knew our giving reports. He knew our spending reports, you know, all of those things. This guy had no freaking clue.
That was not how it went.
No, it was a guy who was good at business and loved Jesus. And so Tom's like, yeah, why don't you come sit in on a meeting once a month and hear me rant about the crap that's going on at the church?
The finance guy was a guy that gave a lot of money.
Yeah, that also.
So he could have an opinion if he wanted one. But like, and so that's where, like, because we're going to jump into this brave idea here that Tom now has an idea that he wants elders and a leadership structure. Like, I feel like just like that situation. Well, we got to have somebody, like, it looks good and we don't look like a cult and don't look bad if I say I have a finance guy. Like, because I really feel like this guy was put out there like that.
Oh, yeah. Because Tom didn't want anyone to know that Tom ultimately
it's just Tom
controlled everything. Yeah.
Just Tom.
Legally, and so, on paper, it's just legally, Tom.
It's just Tom. It's all Tom. It's just Tom. And so I feel like he coined the term, you know, like, to make the people happy, I'm going to say we need elders. But then I think he did this eldership training that really, I feel like, put a lot of emphasis on elders, probably more than a lot of churches do. Because, like, I've researched, like, what do elders do in the church? it's such a vast range of like, like the minimum that an elder would do to the maximum that an elder would do in any given church. It's really whatever you feel like they're going to do at your church within a certain.
And like we said, like we haven't read the eldership training, but it's written by Alexander Strauss.
Yeah.
We've looked at, if you want to go back, we have it even over on Patreon. We kind of talked about like the books that the eldership team was supposed to read and stuff. This guy is a biblical literalist. He takes the Bible literally. And so I can only imagine if these are his positions on things about love and gender and gender roles and submitting and all of those kinds of things. I can only imagine what his opinion is. I can assume what his opinion is on church eldership based off of the scriptures.
Exactly. And then you have all these guys who are now like, oh, we're going to be elders. We're going to be elders. And there's excitement there. And then I feel like the reality of I'm going to have to share my power that's in. And he doesn't like that. So now he's like, well, yes, we're going to have elders. And we need a structure.
Yeah, we need a structure because there's other things in play here.
Yeah. And I think we've talked a lot about some of these men who have stepped up in the past, and they were really gung-ho, and they have opinions, and they had good opinions, they had ideas, and they wanted to take control, and they wanted to be leaders, and then they would get shot down
by Tom.
One in control and one leader. And I'm just, this is just me summarizing what I feel like went down.
Yeah. So, no, I agree 100%. We had done some, I don't know, SALT training or some crap of like the upside down pyramid where really like, and the fact that like the thing that started all of this was we watched a documentary about a pyramid scheme. We're like, oh crap, that's kind of like the church we went to. And that's kind of like how we got all this, like, hey, we might've been in a cult kind of thing. But it's not a pyramid scheme. It's an upside down pyramid because there's all these people and it all comes down to Tom, but ultimately it's not Tom, it's God. Tom's listening to God, but he's not at the top. He's at the bottom because the least is the greatest and the greatest is the least. And, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the pyramid's upside down, sideways, backwards. It doesn't matter. It's a freaking pyramid and there's only one person and that person was Tom.
Yeah.
And so he has to come up with a structure for these elders and for these leaders and how we're going to function as a church, of what elder is going to be in charge of what ministry,
right,
and all of this stuff. And so he starts throwing out ideas.
This is when he starts. Yeah. Yeah.
So that starts happening during this time. But I am so overwhelmed. I can't even tell you, like, even when Justin was in the eldership team, like in the beginning, I was invested because I wanted to know, like, oh yeah, we're going to have elders. I want to know. I got so overwhelmed so fast with the phone calls and the having to stream and having to record and all of the stuff and making sure people felt loved and heard and all of these things. So, the guy walks into the sanctuary on April 19th. I think we're about to get shot and I'm about to die. And then I get screamed at by Tom. So Monday, April 20th, I walk into the church office and I'm going to quit my job because I have had enough. I can't do it anymore.
Burning Butterflies is a listener-supported podcast. Today's episode was brought to you by our amazing supporters on Patreon.
Follow the link in our show notes to learn how you can become a Patreon supporter too. Supporters get exclusive access to bonus content each month, including outtakes, cut content, and supporter-only episodes. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating on your listening platform.
Burning Butterflies is a production of Asha Media. Thank you for listening.